Hello, welcome to Spread Book Joy. Today, in my no plan year, I've got a planning video for you. If you're new to the channel, I'm Jack, and if you're not new, welcome back to Spread Book Joy. So I was going to talk to you about the things that I am going to be taking part in the coming year, because I have set some things that I want to definitely do in 2023. I'm running a few readathons. I'm running one at the moment. I'm co-hosting it with some friends. I am taking part in a read-along at the moment. So there are buddy reads, there are events that I want to make time for, and that does necessitate some planning. Otherwise you'll just never get anything done, or you'll overload yourself and overwhelm yourself. So I was going to just talk to you about the forthcoming events for 2023 that I'm interested in, and things that I'm hoping to take part in, and the buddy reads that I've agreed to do, and things like that. And then I remembered, when I was planning all of this out in my little book journal, which is here, I filmed myself reorganising my book journal so that you could see the process. And then I thought what I could do is talk to you over the footage of that, and you might want to see the process of how I just sort of set it up for the year, and then I can flick you through how it looks now that it's finished and talk to you about things that are happening. So in my no plan year, welcome to my planning video. So I've sped up most of the video because it is pretty boring watching someone draw. However, I thought I'd slow down some parts. So you can see these spreads. I started off the year thinking I'm going to do all these lovely spreads. I've got my buddy reads and a little quote. Got a lovely quote. I love that book quote at the start. But it's become more of a practical journal for me. And what I did like was this annual spread that I had done. So I had the months laid out, and in each of the months I'd planned, you know, my buddy reads. I'd crossed off the books that I actually did read. I added books that I read in addition to those books, and yeah, it was a really nice thing. And so I decided I want to keep that format, but actually the notes part that I wanted to add to it, I sort of want to add in some stats from YouTube and things like that. So you can see on one of them, sort of April, you'll see the books I've finished and things like that. And I'd done these sort of monthly kind of wrap-ups, I suppose, in my book journal, which hopefully I'll flick to and show you. But yeah, I counted up the books read. I put a little arrow next to ones that were carrying on into the next month, and I put sort of the final count for each month there on the page with the month. But these monthly spreads that you're just seeing that went past, I was recording my thoughts on the month. So I kind of wanted to incorporate that. So instead of having 1 month, sort of three months to a page, a single page, I've got 3 months to a double page spread. So I started trying to fiddle around with my pencil here and lay out the way I wanted it to be. So you can see I like the sort of space that I had. So on one side I'm going to have the books and the events, and then on the other side I'm going to have thoughts and notes and stats for YouTube and things like that. So it's quite a nice record for me to look back on and see how the channel has grown over the year and things like that. So I've just slowed down to show you. So I've got these Pigma Micron, they're archival ink quality pens, and I've drawn out the first page here, and I'm just going to use these to go over what I've drawn. I'm just going to show you sort of finished spread in the book journal, but I know some people like to know what people's journaling supplies are, so I know I do when people are journaling and I don't know what it is, so I thought I'd just mention quickly. This is a Leuchtturm, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, that's why I've been saying it for years. 1917 notebook, which I tried a few notebooks, and these are always my favourite. The size of them, they open, and they tend to open like flat when you're doing a spread and things like that. I always go for the dot grid, because I don't like, I want the freedom to draw my own things, but I'd want some guidelines. So most people who have bullet journals go dot grid paper, and I'm no different. There is ghosting that comes through. You can see ghosting on the paper. I'll just show you an example. Yeah, so look, there's a nice quote I did, and it goes through. Some people really dislike that. I actually quite like it. I don't know why, it just pleases me. I just don't know why, it always does. And I tried different papers that don't do that. I tried a Rhodia, which is much thicker paper. And I also love to use fountain pens, and so it's just a nice writing experience on these with fountain pens. So that's the type of notebook I use, and I always grab like a nice postcard that goes with the sort of colour and is just pleasing for me to pick up time and time again. Postcard is from Wendy Robinson, the Unexpected Gypsy, who has a brilliant YouTube channel, who I just find such a lovely person, and yeah, she's a wonderful YouTuber. If you like art and you like mindful stuff and you like peaceful videos, you should go and check out Wendy, she's lovely. And this is one of her postcards, and I just thought it matched the sage green colour that I got. These stickers, I think they're Ranger stickers, and they're just tons and tons of random little quotes, and they're just quite nice. I just picked out one that I thought would go with the books, really, all the fairy tales. This I made with a bit of paper. I just tore it, and I used my brand new, at the time, they're not new anymore, alphabet stamps. So I just got this this is just a cheap one off of Amazon. It worked really, really well, and I don't mind if it's a bit messy, because I quite like the messy aesthetic. So yeah, I've got these alphabet stamps, and I use the archival ink to make sure it sort of stays, doesn't fade and stuff like that. I've got a few different washi tapes that I like to use. I've got loads up the stairs, and I think well, I haven't got as many with me as are in storage, but this is what I was using in my journal at Christmas, not my book journal but my other journal. And then I've got one that's got sort of writing on it, hopefully you can see that. It's kind of like, looks like old paper. And then this one is my favourite at the moment. This is just black washi tape. I've really gone for more sort of monochrome look in my journal lately. It just makes life easier, and I actually think it looks really nice. So yeah, less colour in the most recent spreads for this year. You'll see what I mean when I show you. There's also, in terms of using an eraser, if you're going to do what I did and put pencil in your journal and then go over it, don't just get a normal eraser. This is a putty eraser, and these are far better for removing pencil without really damaging the ink or the drawings and things like that once the ink's dry, and it doesn't smudge, and it takes things off really, really well. So yeah, I just recommend getting a putty eraser if you do lots of sketching out and then drawing over the top of it. I'll show you some of my pens, but I also want to show you one of my favourite things in the world. This is I discovered I wanted like a stand-up pencil case, so you can stand it up and it stands up, and then what you can do if you really want to is you can put your phone here, and use that as a phone stand, and then you can just access all of your pens and things without having to sort of like have something that's on its side and fiddling around. And I got a really tall one because it fits these really tall Tombow brush pens that I use throughout the journal. These are the Pigma Micron archival ink pens that I use. I tried a few different archival ink pens, and these are the best ones, definitely by far. They last the longest, they last for absolutely ages. The only issue you might have is with the tips getting sort of squared off and a bit flattened if you're not careful. That's the only issue you might have with them, but they last for absolutely ages. I've had this set this is the second set I've bought, and I've only bought 2 sets in the last 5 years, I think. So yeah, you come in all different sorts of sizes. This is my most popular size that I use. And then my favourite pens, I've got these Lammies, and I've got my favourite fountain pens day to day are Lamy fountain pens, and so I use Lamy fountain pen, and I use this one is my favourite colour, and it's diamine ink, and it's in blue steel. No, that's not. That's from, I think it might be steel blue. Blue steel is from Zoolander. The other thing that's really good to have is just a regular black ballpoint pen, because if you're going to highlight things with a Tombow and you don't want to wait for them to dry, it's actually quite good to have a black ballpoint pen. It works really, really well, I find. That's enough. I could talk about stationery for days and days and days, so I'm not going to talk about stationery anymore. I'm just going to talk you through sort of my journal and the way it was set up last year and the changes I've made. I got really inspired by lovely Becky over at Teacup the Storyteller. I do love bullet journaling, and since starting my YouTube channel I haven't had much time to do it, so I thought I'd start up a book journal, and I saw hers and I was just like, oh, it's so beautiful. So I sort of started off by doing these lovely spreads with these quotes. I love this quote. When I think of all the books still left for me to read, I'm certain of further happiness. Jules Renard. I don't know who he is, but a lovely quote. And I had this gorgeous, from the Crow Emporium, this gorgeous set of postcards about Jane Eyre. And yeah, I just sort of decided to do a spread of all my buddy reads. I didn't manage to do all of them. I'm doing, apart from 2, and I'm doing this one right now, The House in the Cerulean Sea, which was just put back and put back and put back. So yeah, I did loads more than I expected to last year. It was a really wonderful year for buddy reading. So here, this is how it was. Really, really messy, but I found this the most useful thing in the entire journal that I had done. So I put an annual sort of an overview of the year, and then I started putting out all of, ahead of time, I would put out, you'll see when you come to my new year, the different events and things I was supposed to be doing. And then what I would do is I would move them along if they weren't done, or I would tick them off if they were done, and I would make a record of each of the books. And at the bottom here is like the total here when I was adding up for the year. I'm going to cover some stuff up with my lovely postcard here. These postcards, by the way, absolutely love these. These are called these are bibliophile postcards, and I've used these to send things to Booktube friends, and they're absolutely gorgeous. Look, got these writing rooms, and then you've got these book collections, libraries, that kind of thing. But yeah, I really love these. The artist is Jane Mount, an award-winning illustrator and designer. I started off the year thinking, I'm going to do this for every book. No, I didn't, because you just don't have the time for it. Look, so the inclination to read it, the readability, the response, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I didn't do that. And then I thought, no, do you know what? I'm just going to put them here and I'm going to star rate them. And then that soon got old. So then I started recording my sort of monthly wrap up of thoughts in here, and it started off just being quite open, and then I went to this kind of stats format, the books I'd read, you know, what genre they were, that kind of thing, see if it was a use to me. I stopped doing it when it stops being used to me. Like, if you're doing things and you think, why am I doing this as a chore, just stop it. This is an Emily Dickinson quote, again from the Crow Emporium, but this was to cover up a messed up spread that I did, and then I just covered it in my black washi tape. And I got my white pen and I went over it, made it all stars. Then I started adding really practical things in here, like when I needed to finish War and Peace, tracked what I was doing and I just highlighted it. So here's something I do want to carry on with this year, book purchases spread. I didn't keep up with it, but I really like this because I put book purchases and gifts that were sent to me, and what I did was I wrote buying notes, where and why I bought it. So sometimes it might be just because I found a beautiful bookshop and I wanted to buy it. It might have been because I was feeling down and it cheered me up. And it's just a nice thing. I think it's just a nice thought. So I'd like to carry on with this year. I'm hoping not to buy as many books this year, so it should be a bit easier. And here was my Jane Austen July spread that I did. I looked at the challenges. I wrote notes. I wrote down, the biggest one here was I wrote loads of notes on challenge 4 to read a modern retelling or piece of historical fiction. I ticked off what I managed, which wasn't a huge amount, but I really quite like this spread because I like the way this is written at the top. So again, trying out these stats and trying to record what I did, and yeah, recording these stats from like Storygraph and stuff like that. Another thing I started doing was I started Great Circle last year, and I thought, I don't want to carry on with this right now, but what I won't do, and I'm terrible for it, if I stop reading a book, I'm terrible for going back to it if I've read about 100 pages or so, which I had a great circle. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to go back to that and reread that start. So I will write down some notes. So I've got the notes here of how far I got with it, who the main players were, and where I was in the story when things happened. And hopefully that means I can just pick it up from where I was rather than having to go back to it. It's another reason why, you know, people do try a chapter. It's one of those things I won't do because, well, I'm going to try it at some point one day. It might be good for me. But when I try a chapter of a book, I probably won't go back to it because I won't want to read that chapter again. It's ridiculous, really, but that's just kind of the way my mind works. And so we come to the messy spread that I did here, as you can see, of all the events in 2023 that I want to take part in. So here in January, you can already see I've had a very busy month so far. Past and Future Readathon, which I'm co-hosting with Emily from Novelle Novels, Gem from Gem of Books, and Alice from Alice and a Giant Bookshelf. If you're not sure what it's about, I'll leave a link to my announcement video in the description box. And then you can see the Immune read along, which I'm currently reading the book, I haven't crossed it off, I haven't highlighted it. So the Immune read along is being hosted by the Tandem Collective. It's a wonderful book, I'm really enjoying it. It's all about the immune system, and that's going along. It's going to finish by the end of January. These are the books that I have managed to finish now. Real Murders is the first book in the Into the Library read along, which is being hosted by Ange from Ange's Book Chatter and Amy from Booktube with Amy. So last year we did the Into the Coffin read along of all Charlene Harris's Sookie Stackhouse books. This year we're doing Charlene Harris's Aurora Teagarden mysteries. So there's Real Murders. A Bone to Pick is the next one. 3 Bedrooms, 1 Corpse. So these are the ones that are coming up in the next few months, but I've plotted them out throughout the year. Then I had Shuggy Bane, which was part of the Shug-along being run by Ange. Mayflies, which is the first book for the Fiction Addiction Book Club, and I'm going to leave links to these in the description box below. But the Fiction Addiction is being run by Ange and Amy again, but just books that they're really interested in, and they're only sort of announcing 2 books at a time because they're going to go with their, you know, what's interesting them at the time, and they're very interesting readers. So I'm really enjoying. So far I've read Mayflies and I've loved it. Streets of Laredo was buddy read with Sandy. The Black Pages and the Flat Share, The Switch and Menopausing. These are all my mood reads. I just felt like reading them and I wanted to read them. I just followed my interest. So in February, you can see I've got Catherine Howard down here, and Catherine Howard is the current book that's running for 2 months. It's the Tudor-Along, I think. It's being run by Emily from Novelle Novels, Gem from Gem of Books, and it was Dani from Dani's Book World. By the way, I must give a shout out. If you were following Dani from Dani's Book World and she came off of Booktube, she is now back. She's had to reinstate her channel and she needs her subscribers to come and resubscribe to her. So please go subscribe to her. She's lovely and it's so good to see her back. So I'm going to link her channel in the description box below. The Anomaly is the next pick for Fiction Addiction, and A Bone to Pick is the next book for Aurora Teagarden. Tigana and Mort are buddy reads. Tigana I'm going to be buddy reading with Dia from Novel Idea. Mort I'm going to be buddy reading with Mason from Mason in the Dark. Jamaica Inn is our FOMO Book Club pick. If you're not sure about FOMO Book Club, I'm going to link my announcement video in the description box below. So you can see I've got lots and lots going on. This is a FOMO Book Club pick, and that's my sort of first 3 months of the year. Quite a lot of reading already in the first 3 months of the year, and I'm going to record here how many subscribers, my subscriber count at the beginning and end of each month, or the beginning of each month I suppose, because it doesn't really matter what it is at the end of each month. Beginning of each month, on the first of the month I can record what it was, and so you'll see it growing, hopefully growing. This is really interesting, Historathon. I only heard about this a day ago and I've joined it, and it's being run by a lot of co-hosts, but Vin from Revenant Reads is the instigator of it, and it's all about reading non-fiction history books. And so each quarter, which is really convenient because I set my journal up into quarters, has a different period of history that you can read a book from, or book about I should say. So this quarter it's prehistory to 500 AD, and as you go through the year it's 500 to 1500, 1500 to 1820, and they did that on purpose because of Jane Austen July, and then 1820 to the present in the final part of the year. And you can see what I'm trying to do is keep some things free. So April I've got the Julius House, which is the Into the Library book, And then Picture This is my readathon that I run with Shelley Swearingen, and we're hoping to run it again this year, and it's all about reading picture books. And I want to keep April free because last April I had a real struggle keeping up with people's content, and I don't want to miss people's content on Picture This year. So here we've got May, The Dance Tree, which is our FOMO Book Club pick for May and June, I think. And then June, more Into the Library. I've got a buddy read, another buddy read, and yeah, this is the way it goes. Jane Austen July, Garb August, and Victober and Non-Fiction November. They're the only sort of big events that I've kind of put in for the moment. But like I said, at the end of the year, I like to keep really loose. And I did that this year, and I read so much. I just followed my nose, and I loved it so much. And I did lots of spur of the moment buddy reading. So that was really good for me. So these are my sort of loose plans, some of them really loose. The other thing about it is, if I feel at any point that I'm feeling pressure with any of these books or anything, I just don't do it. I was talking to some of my Booktube friends, and we were saying about getting stressed on Booktube and things like that. And if you're getting stressed and you're a Booktuber, or if you're running any sort of social media book account, it should be fun, okay? So if you're stressed, if life is too much and you need to take a step back, just take a step back. No one is going to be upset with you. No one's going to feel annoyed with you. No one's going to think, oh, she said she was going to do this and she's not. So yeah, I just thought I'd put that out there because it's a nice reminder, isn't it? A few things I didn't mention because they're not in my book journal, but they're things that I am keeping an active eye on and I'm members of Discord servers for, or things that I would love to take part in if I have the time. Or what I'm planning on doing is, even if I can't take part in them when they're running, I will subsequently possibly read the books and then go back and comment on videos or Discord servers or groups or whatever when I've had a chance to read them. So the first thing is the 1001 Book Club, which is run by the lovely Sandy over at Miss Reads a Lot. She's reading her way through the 1001 books to read before you die list, and she picks 10 of the books that she's planning to read this year, and she shares them in her book club. She has a Discord server, and she says she's not that active on there, but I do see Sandy on there. But she has a Discord server for other people who want to read the book and discuss it within the Discord server, and she's picked a lovely list of 10 amazing books this year. First one that I'm interested in taking part in is in February. And as you just saw, February is a really busy month for me. So she's going to be reading Rohinton Mysteries of Fine Balance, which has been on my TBR since Scott at Gunpowder Fiction Plot mentioned it was his favourite book. I don't know if that's changed since then because it was a while ago, but I picked it up secondhand last year and I'm desperate to read it. So that I really do want to take part in. But like I said, I might take part and read it another time and then drop my thoughts into the Discord server later on. It's the same with FOMO Book Club. If you want to read Jamaica in like May and you want to comment in our Discord server in May, that's fine, do that. I think the idea of these events and reading events is to, you know, widen people's reading habits and perspectives and introduce you to new authors or get you to finally pick up that book that's been languishing on your shelf for years. So yeah, whether you do it when the event's running or whether you do it because the event's put that book into your mind, I think is a great thing. So these are sort of the things that I want to take part in and I may not be able to. Another one in February is the lovely Becky from Teacup the Storyteller is doing a read along of her favourite book, The Three Musketeers. I've never read any Dumas and I'd love to take part, but it may be that I just can't. But towards the end of February, if things ease up, I might pick up The Three Musketeers. AJ Dunn is running the Killer Reads Book Club for the second year. They are working their way through I think it's Penguin's top 100 thrillers of all time. I wanted to take part, but I haven't taken part in one of them yet, which is really irritating, but I am a member of the Discord server. So yeah, I'm going to link all of these events and these book clubs, if you're interested in them, in the description box below, so you can go and take a look. Another thing is lovely Gemma, my friend Gemma, is going to be working her way through Alice from Alice and the Giant Bookshelf's top 12 Poirot books, because she's never read any Marple? She's never read any Agatha Christie, and Poirot is Alice's favourite character from Agatha Christie, and she's read nearly all of Agatha Christie's work, and she has her top 12. So Gemma's going to work her way through those, and I'm going to join them for some of those because I've never read any Poirot either, and I'd really like to. Another lovely group that I'm part of is the middle grade Mad Chat, which is run by the lovely Chatty the Mad Chatter, Charlotte. Her channel is delightful. She's so sweet, and I love middle grade, and I'm going to be taking part in middle grade March as well. I didn't even mention that. That's why we picked Goodnight Mr. Tom for March and April in the FOMO Book Club. So yeah, that's another lovely group. And over on Instagram, there's a wonderful children's classics book club, which is running, and soon my friend Sally, who has a fantastic gorgeous Instagram account at Salbo Reads, she's going to be taking it over from the person who started it up. And so yeah, they're going to be reading classics like What Katie Did, and things like that. So I'm really excited to try and get involved in some of these read-alongs and book clubs. Another great Discord group is MJ's Discord group over at Reading This Life, and MJ is so lovely and she runs so many things. I don't know how she keeps up, but she has got a Discord server with so many different groups and chats in, and if you're a small booktuber, she's heading to soon not be a small booktuber because she has just been phenomenal with her content, with the support for the community, and she has just been like, her channel is growing really rapidly. So if you head on over to MJ's Discord server, you can get involved in some book club reading, and she picks just books that interest her really, so you can have a random mix of things. So yes, head over onto MJ's Discord server if that seems like your thing as well, and also get some great advice and join a community which is really supportive and lovely and just fun. So when I do my reading rambles, if anything else crops up on Booktube that I think, well, I'd love to take part in that, and even if I can't take part in it, I'll promote it, I will mention it. So yeah, what are you excited to join in this year on Booktube? Is anything taking your fancy? And is there anything that I've not heard of that you think, well, Jack would really like that? Because I'd love to hear about it. If you like this rambling nonsense, and I'm not sure why you would, but if you did, you might want to consider subscribing if you're not already, and hopefully I will see you again here soon. Bye!